Well, thank you. Oh, no. And so, I was out walking my dog last night. I saw you in here cleaning up your. Oh yeah, and I looked down your driveway and I said, "Oh my God, got it." It is.
We're approaching that. I thought it was a science experiment.
Sort of sciencey, and thankfully not much of an experiment anymore, but.
Yeah, I've been had some of the workshops that I attended.
We can ride our bicycles.
To ride our bicycles to Dustin's.
Whatever they call the hall. Park. Park hall, whatever it's called. So unique name for it. Do you know what it's called?
It's called the Trudeau Center, but we haven't met at the Trudeau Center. But
I thought it might be at the Trudeau Center because it decides it, but it's not. It's in Dustin's garage.
We're good. Get started. Whatever you want.
Yeah, on the actual one sector. That's a so you have a quote. Thinking about being rid of it, I do use it, but I don't know if I'll discover this.
Right in Janice.
I used it a couple of times. What I found is when I'm sending this thing to somebody, like I said,
So that time I did that, when you hit the chair, there's the menu. First of all, I actually use it anyway. But I just it's actually for me how to take it and
I remember they're all kind of bad. Okay,
Good morning, everybody. What an ugly, ugly morning we've had. Man, the weather's terrible. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're here because we had a fire, let's be honest, right? And so great that everyone's here. We have some great volunteers. Before I introduce our speakers, Stephanie in the back, Martin here on the side, just doing so much help with pulling all this together. Thank you to you two for making this happen. I will get right into it. So we have Chris Brown, who's going to be our speaker for the day, and we have Nick Luby, Mr. Fire Expert in the back. And yeah, let's just get started. Chris, come on up.
Thank you. Woo! Yeah. Cool. Let's see how this thing works. Okay. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Good morning. This is not about radios, and it's not the whole spiel that you guys have seen before. This is a small subset of things, because our goal here today is to look at what worked and what didn't work, and what we wish in the middle of this had been working, and to try to not so much get answers today as to bring up a lot of questions and bring up a lot of things to think about. In fact, one of the things that we're going to bring up today is a very difficult question that involves privacy in the neighborhood and privacy as neighbors versus a communal sense of caring for each other. So those two actually are in opposition. In some ways, we'll talk about that in a minute. And so this is a time to really start thinking about that. I don't know why it happens.
It's for the karaoke segment.
Here, okay? I counterweight. But without the counterweight, I wouldn't know what I'd do. So I want to get going. So here we are. So you're in the right place. This was Model Railroading. That's down the street. So here's the agenda, sort of. And it's to make a plan, it's to talk about communication. The one that is really the one that we have to talk about is functional needs. Documents, which was very surprising how it went for us. I don't know how it went for you guys. We thought we were better prepared for documents than we are. What to do during and after evacuation, and of course the fire. This is the family disaster plan. We can get you one of these in paper. The value of a disaster plan, frankly, and we'll send this out to everybody on the email. The value of the disaster plan is it gets you to put everything in one place. Now remember that during an emergency, this part of your brain, the front part, is off.
It was.
Isn't that amazing where all that critical thought went?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's not here. And so one of the things that we want to do is make things for ourselves dead simple. And that means, who am I going to call? By the way, I thought this was quaint. I was doing a safety plan for a patient a couple days ago and brought up the idea that she thought it was very cute that I was asking for all the phone numbers of people like her best friend and her dad. Their dad, because it's like, I know these numbers. It's like, what if they take your phone? There's the old question about if your phone is not working. Let's say the old joke is, what if you get thrown in jail and they take your cell phone? Who are you going to call? Well, nobody, because everybody is in your phone and nobody remembers their phone number anymore. And so along those lines, that's what we're doing with this, is we are taking the stuff that we would not necessarily remember in the middle of an emergency and putting it on a piece of paper so that when the emergency is happening and we are missing our critical thinking, we have this instead. So this should get full. This It should have additional parts. It's got whited out parts where you don't like the label and you put some other information in there that's important. This is an important piece of paper in the family emergency information. Also important, you put it somewhere where you're likely to look the first time. You need a go-to place that you go to for these things. So if you're searching the house, scouring the house for pieces of information, then you're lost. So,
Chris,
yes,
do they have is it that form when you send it digitally, it doesn't happen to be what they call a PDF fillable form, is it?
it is.
Oh, it is?
can be.
Oh, great, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually not fillable, but if you want, I will put fields on there.
That'd be awesome, because it'll be neater that way.
Yeah,
You can actually
absolutely.
read it. If I write it, you know, review.
And the fillable forms, by the way,
Doctors.
remember, when you're doing the fields on the fillable forms, you can select the font size. So you put in there, I won't go through it, but you can. And so instead of little itty bitty things, which will be the natural thing, you can select it. It's going to naturally be a bigger font because you don't want to look for reading glasses either. You'd like to be able to see it. And don't get tricky and do clever colors, because what you thought was so interesting because it's all in red, you can't read at night. And so don't get too clever when you're filling the form out. Ways to communicate. The cell system is better than it used to be. It's not perfect yet. Your cell phone is going to die. And so we have
Towers too, right?
Yeah, the towers. The tower's going to die. That's the big deal. They claim that they're better. I was down by Woodminster. There's a generator going in one of the cell sites down there. So they have done their part, but it's not clear everybody has. And if you call it, whoever runs the cell sites, and I don't even know who owns them actually anymore, because if you try and call and ask about the cell site, you think it's a brand, they'll tell you that it's owned by some other person who owns cell sites, and that's all they do. And so bottom line to that is, no one's going to tell you when the cell site's going to go out. Nobody has an idea. When I finally got this on to AT&T once, they're like, we don't know. So nobody knew. We can't depend on the cell phones. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say, I think the recent hurricane disasters tell us a lot.
What-
I mean, even though it's not earthquakes, but it's, or whatever,
Please.
it's fires, you know, I think that gives you a clue of what we really have to prepare for, which is basically you're on your own for, you know, whatever time.
That is what CORE was about, and CERT, and that is exact. Thank you for saying that. We are a great location to be self-sufficient and care for ourselves. We just need a plan, and that's what this is about. We're going to talk a little bit later when we're talking about the communal aspect of the neighborhood. The fact that there's a ton of resources here. There's so many skills in this room. There's so many people with experience in this room and around the neighborhood who didn't want to get up for this, but they're here. They have skills. They have willingness to help. Identifying those people is one of the things we'll talk about, because we are going to be on our own, like you said, and we're not completely on our own. We're not a bunch of individuals in that moment. So, thank you for that. Communications, we'll have to talk about. We know about the radios, and this is like an ad. I promised I wouldn't say radios, but this is an ad for the radios that we can. This is a perfect time when you discover that there's dogs just.
Not me.
That dog is having way too much fun. When we discover something going on, it's a time to turn on that radio and start our radio communication. These radios.
Thank you.
Yep, these radios, which work better if there's more than one.
You're gonna give some info on those, right? A little bit later?
Pardon?
You will give a little bit of info on
We
those.
have
right?
it, we have it printed.
So we've got a ton of info, so I forgot to mention, we got a ton of info in the back, we also have some food and beverage in need of moment, and there's bathrooms inside too, so, but. Yes, there's information in the back on radio.
And we should sign in here. No, okay,
We are from Pete, I think. But-
yeah, okay.
Yep, and the radio stuff, by the way, if you have a radio, the 5th Tuesday is our check-in. So those of you who are into checking in on the radio once a month, it's the 5th this time. Doug sent something out. How to turn off utilities. That's really mostly an earthquake thing, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on it today. Big plan and reunification plan. Later on in here, I think there's a little map that shows an example of how we can get out of here if we need to, if, we saw how good the roads worked when we were trying to evacuate, right? And so if there are flames coming, and you need to get out, you may have to hoof it, you may have to go down some of these trails. And so we have a map, we're gonna have more maps about how that works, so that we can get down to safety. There are numbers of us who have bolt cutters in our cars. For the very reason that some of these paths have locked gates, but not when you have a bolt cutter. And so that's why we carry bolt cutters in our cars. Yes, ma'am.
Are they the big, strong bolt cutters, not the wimpy ones?
They are. What we do is we have the regular bolt cutter, and then we have the rigid plastic piece, so the arm gets about this long. And so, yeah, you can get through a good lock with that thing. Or anything. That's to say, just a link of chain is all you need. So that's the escape plan, reunification plans, big deal. Also, it's a good idea to look at these paths that you may end up taking and say, what is at the end of that? And instead of thinking sort of optimistic, well, we'll be at the Safeway at the bottom of the hill, that's where we're gonna meet. Like, well, the path actually has been coming out at this basketball court over in this place I've never been before. Maybe I should go see what that looks like. Maybe I should take my family there and we should all stand there for a second, touch a tree or something, so we're like, this is where we're gonna be. Because that's really where you're gonna be. So it's important that we get practical about where these kinds of things end up. Finding provisions for people with functional needs. This was, and with those people, we included pets, because they need to be cared for. People with functional needs need to be helped. And so what we're looking at is people and animals who cannot fend for themselves in this circumstance. It's important that we make plans for them. It's also important, we'll talk about this, people with functional needs may not even know there's an emergency going on. Right. It depends on what the functional need is. And so it may be the case that for these people, getting through the day is the entire of their bandwidth. And so things like keeping an ear out for the radio is too much. And so that's what we as a neighborhood have to pitch in and help each other. This is the two meeting places, things I talked to you about, the Safeway and the other place. 911, we talked about that, it goes off. The emergency notification system. Remember that this is as good as long as the cell phone is good. Cell phones are going to be good at the onset. What you want to do with cell phones is the stuff that you want to make sure gets done. Because if you plan, the cell phone is going to go away after, I don't know, a few hours. Then things like using it to get the emergency response started and get people onto radios. Using it to start gathering people together. So when the cell phone system finally dies, and we've gotten all the alerts we can. The alerts were pretty good this year, but they were somewhat confusing. And so that's one of the problems with the alert system is every time you practice with it, you end up alerting people. And so how do you practice with something that when every time you use it, people think it's real? Yet at the same time, you have to practice with it. And so the alerts were iffy this time. There was lack of clarity about what zones were being evacuated, where the fire was going, things like that. Also, it's not crystal clear here what is really going on. Remember, living in a hilly place like we do, our roads don't go where fires go. Our roads snake around, and it takes a while to get down to to Keller, and to go down Keller and snake around to where the stuff was. If you're a fire, you cut right across, and suddenly it's not a couple miles, it's a mile. Things are a lot closer. Oh, it's an uphill too, so we drive right. So it's a lot different when you see it laid out like that. And so the emergency alerts were not great about conveying that to people. It's important we become aware, look at the map of where we are, what's around us. So when people say something, we get the importance of what they're talking about. Ma'am.
Chris, are you talking about both the WhatsApp alert, our own neighborhood alert, and the county alert system?
The county alert system, and there's
The Genesis?
what's that? Genesis, yes.
Yeah.
Genesis.
So,
Oh,
Zone
yeah.
Haven, if you know the Zone Haven, it's now called Genesis. GENASYS, yes, it's called Genesis Alerts. Yes.
It wasn't very helpful.
No, that wasn't great, was it?
We actually made a change. Stephanie was brilliant about this. So on our WhatsApp, if you look at our WhatsApp, the logo, it's now our zone, so we have 2 zones for this neighborhood. So if you're like, what zone are we? Right there, go to WhatsApp. Also, you click at the top of here, so if you go to this page, in the descriptions, that's the first line, Genesis Protect, so makes it easy.
Yeah, at the bottom of every email that we send.
Every,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
so good. Alright.
And it turns out we should know our zones even if the police don't. So we need to be able to look at these things and say, well, I'm zone, what, 171?
154.
Well,
I
171.
154.
154 is,
Yeah.
Brook Park,
And we are, yeah,
and here we're 171.
Yeah,
Right.
see, that's
Yeah.
another problem, is the fact that we have 2. to
Exactly.
deal with.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes it confusing.
Yeah, so you gotta search for your zones. And then, so make sure you have to search for your zones and ask yourself, yes, that's the zone next to me is evacuating. Could I be next? So you need to think ahead when you see these things. So it's important that we also know our local zones around it. People with functional needs. So there was a very interesting aspect of this emergency for at least 2 people here, and possibly others. And that is that we weren't here for the emergency, but our dogs were. And so that could be a dog, that could be a teenager, that could be an elder parent, that could be anybody in our family. It could be someone who's just doesn't take emergencies well. The point is that most of our emergency planning expects us to be in the middle of it. And if we're not here, fortunately for us, or for my wife and I, our neighbors were fantastic and helped us free up our dog and get it out of here for the evacuation. But what if they hadn't been? What if we'd been down in Santa Barbara and just reading about our poor dog up here by itself? That would have been awful. And so there's a tension between checking in and acting like one giant organism here where everybody knows where everybody is, and being out on your own and having nobody who's going to be able to help you because you don't know your neighbors, and you don't really have an idea where everybody is or what you can do. In addition, we're pretty armored. Getting into our house, if you know us, we can give you all sorts of codes and stuff. To get into our house, it takes seconds, but if you're not, and there's a dog behind that fence, you have to kick our fence open. And so that is an open question to us all, is how we can have security and at the same time have people have access to help us. And so we need to all look at our houses. We all need to all look at how you can bootstrap ourselves or somebody else with simple directions into our house so they can do something like evacuate a relative or an animal. We found out we didn't have the crate. Our dog had outgrown any possibility of a crate. It's important to test things like that. Just like when we talk about your evacuation plan for your house and you suddenly realize that you no longer fit through the window that you thought you were gonna. The same with animals and people with mobility needs. You gotta try this stuff. And if your plan has anything to the effect of, now I leap, and you think that you're gonna make some jump in from the edge of the roof into a tree branch or something like that, don't do that. You need a new plan, because that is not gonna work in the dark, in the rain. And remember, these things are not planned to coincide with weather and with other circumstances. Smoke, by the way, and the fact that the fire is approaching and you can see it, it's gonna affect your concentration. So your leap is not gonna be what you thought it would be. So tricky things like that, need to go out. You need to plan your escape from your house. You need to plan your evacuation of your pets and neighbors. And so that it can be done in any circumstance. Like I said, we need to look at how we get into our places and what people find when they're there. We need to understand, we need to have a plan where where animals and relatives go. So that if somebody else is helping us, we can say, this is the plan we've made, these are the, if you could just do this, then we'll all be okay. Or avail yourself completely to their help and be flexible and realize that whatever they do is helpful to you and be grateful. So we need to get your mindset around what it's like to, in that moment, to be part of the bigger group and to get help from our neighbors, help from our friends. Vital documents. Ours turned out to be spread all over the drawer we thought that they were in. They're not in red folded like we planned. They were carried out by the guy who was the dog sitter in a pillowcase. That is not the plan. So again, we as much as we were gonna say something.
No.
Oh, so that was not how it looked on paper. That was not what we were supposed to be doing. Another thing is, when we looked at all the papers that we wanted, everything we needed, it was huge. It's like a block asking the guy to carry out a brick full of paper. It's like a solid chunk of wood. That's not right. So we did not go through. We have not done our pictures. We have not photographed or scanned all of our important documents. And we need to do it. It doesn't have to be tricky. You don't have to have this great scanner. You don't need to go to one of these places that will cost a fortune. Honestly, if you can just take pictures on your phone, you can photograph all the important documents. That's all you really need, is to get the basic information out of these documents when you need it. And so you can organize it in your phone, or you can upload it to one of the cloud sites. There used to be a lot of skepticism about the security of the cloud sites and whether or not it was a good place to put stuff. A lot of that has gone away. There has been so much effort, so much advance that's gone into digital security that, and there's something that we call the schooling defense. And this is something invented by fish. And if you have a whole school of fish, the odds of any one fish in there getting eaten are pretty low. You can imagine that for some big predator out there, the predator's going to eat somebody. But for any one of those fish, the odds are good. Along those lines, if my little documents are up on the cloud somewhere, they're not relevant. So I can tell myself, stop thinking you're so smart. It's going to feel your document from this highly secure iCloud that the thing is in. It's going to be okay. And so talk to people about your reservations about putting copies of documents in something like that, and have a conversation about how it works, what the security is, what the objective risks are, so that you can be comfortable doing that. So you don't have to wonder what you're going to do with your daughter's scrapbook photos. Because that was a concern. It's like, we never did take those books. We never did save those photos. So it's important to think about what you're going to do with these documents and put them somewhere so that they don't become part. Also, remember, carrying around a 1 by 1 by 1 piece of solid wood during an evacuation, which is what a bunch of records amounts to, is cumbersome and makes it more difficult to pull off the evacuation. At some point, you start to wonder, God, maybe they'll be safe if I just put them here. So why make that trade-off? Multi-unit buildings, we don't have any? Where are they got there?
It was a two-part slide, I separated, I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
Evacuation. We talked about more than one place to go. We talked about having a map. By the way, get a paper map. Really, print it out so that your phone is not your only way of getting out. Plus, if you've ever seen, some of us navigate the walking directions using Google, we're not great at it. So don't depend on your phone to get you out. Get a piece of paper the old-fashioned way and highlight it with a highlighter about this is where I'm going to go, and then go there once, so it's not all a big surprise to you when you do it. But depend on that paper to do that. What will you take? Where is it located? Have a plan. There's somebody here going to be doing a go bag thing very soon. We're going to talk about what you will take and what it takes to just get through a few minutes. Plan for pets we just talked about, and service animals. Keep your gas tank partly full. The power outages affect the service stations too. And so if you are on E and you're depending on the Chevron at the bottom of the hill, you're going to be very surprised. Also, I don't know if any of you remember gas lines from the 70s,
Yes.
but that's sort of what it looks like in an emergency too. So, yes, ma'am.
Keeping a little bit of cash in case they're all of being, digital, ATMs, all of that goes down.
Absolutely, and that's a great idea. And remember that if all you have is 20s, then that bottle of water starts bidding at $20. So have some 5s and 10s. Don't carry 1s. They're of no value. Well, they're 1. But
Give me the one then.
but in general, 5s and 10s, and a few 20s, and maybe some really big bills if you need to buy like a dog crate or something. But in general, keep it to an amount of money that is reasonable and to work with. Thank you. Prepare to evacuate. What happens when you understand something's happened? Getting people's attention is hard, by the way. Do you guys, anyone here hear sirens? Were there sirens?
Yeah,
The police on the street,
yeah, police on the street.
the emergency siren's gonna go off.
Actually,
It's
the WhatsApp.
Just so
was
lucky
good
that they happen to be up here at the time it's happening.
I was gonna say the WhatsApp did, hit me before
It's like
even any of
For all
that.
those drills that they do with the emergency ones, but then it didn't go off.
So we're talking on the maps, possessions, irreplaceable possessions, get a fire safe, not so bad to have a fire safe. Confine your pets. By the way, the onset of an emergency, if you have a cat, put that cat in an internal bathroom in your house. If you see that cat, then snag that cat and say, you're done for the day, you're going in here. Put all your animals in your internal bathroom in the house. Why is this? Because it's out of the way of traffic. All your traffic during evacuation and while you're preparing for stuff, you're gonna be shooting from room to room. And all that is out toward the edge of the house. If you have a central bathroom more toward your house, and that's where the animals are, then they're out of the way and they're safe. They're not escaping up, crawling into your mattress or someplace where you can't get them. Cats do that, they'll bore into a mattress. They're not hiding in a corner like a dog. By the way, dogs need to be controlled at the onset of emergencies because dogs panic. The worst time for a dog is when you're getting it to safety out of a house in a fire. Because the dog is going from in the house where it's used to things to out there where all that is and all those people are. And so dogs do, what would you do if a dog? The worst thing in the world, you run back in the house. So, and then that's followed by the owner or caretaker who is now chasing the dog back into the burning house, putting everybody in danger again when it looks so good. If only we had the dog fully under control. So get a harness for your dog, get a carrier for your dog. One of the best things you can do is put the carrier at the edge of the door so you're not trying to walk through the house with a dog and a carrier. But get the dog under control because they will panic and they will run away. Cats, of course, will run away and they'll hide, they'll bore into something, you'll never see them again. And people die looking for cats because they're so good at hiding during emergencies. So control your animals early in the emergency. And then don't wait to see if it all pans out.
A lot of people, back to that, a lot of people, I just the sense I got when we were told, when the police came and everything, I was like, look, that's all I gotta hear. That's enough for me. And I was leaving anyway, I was going out of town. So it was just weird that I said, when I first got the WhatsApp, I said, let me stay just 5 more minutes just to hear what was going on. And next thing I know, but a lot, I'm not gonna name who. So my neighbors came out and they were like, well, what's going on? I'm like, hey, you gotta go. And they're like, huh? And I understand that that's human nature to respond that way. But it was like, look, we've got to go right now.
That's a great point. Thank you for that. That a lot of neighbors are not primed to hear that news. And so it does not fit. When you hear, we gotta go from you, they don't have a we gotta go circuit. And they're having to make it up right then. And so that's what all this is about, and that's why it's redundant, and that's why it's like God is saying it again. It's because we have to have this sort of drilled in as a thing that we're going to do. So when the time comes, we're not like the neighbors you're talking about who are just completely baffled what they're going to do because they have no plan. Instead, those same neighbors are going to have a plan. They're going to say, oh, okay. And then they can start ruminating about, God, what, we're gonna see this again or that again. That's fine, that's human nature, but at least they have a plan. And they're not thrown back on their heels, they're not without some kind of way to move forward. Here's an example of, yes, we're here. This is where we're actually up here. Where are we? Here. We're right here. And this has us going south along Skyline, and you can see where if you cut through, this is hoofing it, half an hour of hoofing it across that area. That's an example. And we'll check for others. I think there's another one over towards Skyline direction.
The
Yes,
one,
ma'am.
the Bacon Road.
Is that the Skyline, or up by the high school? Yeah, so we need to get that one. We'll publish them both for you. And so you have them. This also should be paper.
So, we actually just got a hold of the Tadlock code for Bacon. So at the end of Bacon, so Bacon is thrown off, there's an intersection. If you go to the end of Bacon, there's a little dead end. They basically, there's a gate there that goes into Merritt College. We got the code, I double checked it, so it actually works. We won't publish it publicly because they don't want it, but we'll give it to a few board members, and we'll also provide old cutters, so in the event that we just are nincompoops that can't figure out the code. It's actually a little bit tricky, we'll just break the lock. So, yeah. In emergency, we'll publish it, that won't be like, hey, here's the code, you guys can hold on to it.
I'm just wondering if at some point in the future, it would be interesting for those that are able-bodied to like actually go down some of these trails, like take it, do a day hike with the group and go down these trails just to sort of see what they really
So
look
something
like.
we talked about last year was actually just getting together, let's all just do a field trip, let's all move on, let their backpacks and see how it goes, because we kind of have to stress test it, right?
Yes.
So.
Well,
Absolutely.
this is my take on it, okay? Because of the fact that this can become reality. And I'm thinking about how when we were young, in school, fire drills and whatnot, I think that our neighborhood we should have fire drills.
Yeah.
So people get used to it,
Yeah.
so they're not like, because that's the thing, when you're like, what? But if you.
And we all get so much younger, right? And we're
Oh, yeah.
able-bodied and we got.
Pretty enough age,
The other thing is, I think our communication needs to be better within the neighborhood. For instance,
Yeah.
like you can't leave with your car, that skyline by the high school is blocked with the tree. I'll just use that as an example.
Yeah.
And it's time to use the trail.
Yes.
Because time will be wasted. You get in your car, you find out, oh my God.
Yeah, but first of all, you have to know from where the fire is coming.
Yes.
If it's coming from the canyon, you don't use the
Yeah,
trail.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
if it's coming across, usually the quarry would be the great danger. That caught on fire, that was this last time. I mean,
Yeah.
it could have been, but the
Yes.
winds settled down. So it was kind of baffling. I was watching on television the different areas. And all of a sudden I said, I can't believe it. Evacuate. I thought, well, it would have been better to say, be ready.
Yeah.
In this case, but it's always easy to say afterwards,
But Chris brought up, if let's say the first notice that we got from my perspective was that there was a fire down by Keller. That was close enough for me to kind of say, well, even though I literally was going out of town, I was getting into my car. And I said, let me just gather everything just in case. And literally within 30 minutes, the just in case happened.
Well, I tell you right now, because of the traffic jam, what happened, like one of my neighbors, I don't take the words back, but when the OPD came, they immediately took action and they now didn't help. By the time he got down the hill to Safeway, he said the traffic up there was jammed.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why, the other thing I'm concerned is there any way of organizing in such a way that not everybody taking a car, can we carpool or whatever, set up some meeting spots so that we can, sort of, and not just for our neighborhood, but the whole hill should be involved, so we don't get jammed up on Skyline.
Does anyone remember ride sharing? That's a great idea.
You know what I mean? Because that's danger, the fact you get stuck,
And then whose car you leave behind.
Unrealistic.
One of the things.
I mean, it becomes
There
difficult.
were two things. The one was that
Skyline's high school was
Yeah.
going on. The
Yes.
other thing is that people were using this as a way to get around 580.
Oh. So we actually.
That's
That's
right,
That's
you're right, that's
Routing,
right.
Williams was actually routing people this way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Routing
That's what all that
people
traffic.
outbound on 106.
Wow.
Well, that's an interesting problem.
And, and people were driving, but they didn't know to where.
Yes,
And
correct.
Just, so suspicion, I don't have, well, I've got the events to support it, but I don't think we were supposed to evacuate.
Yeah.
Zone one seventy-one was never evacuated. They had us evacuating to a place that was actually closer to the fire than we are.
So they don't like it.
And I think that which brings me to my next point. I think that if it were actually a real evacuation, I'm assuming there would have been more support for traffic to get
No,
around
but
the high
the
school.
police were in front of my house. Well,
Yeah.
we after, they
Yes.
said you must leave now.
Yeah, we're doing traffic.
And I think that's a
That's the
mistake.
problem.
Yeah.
Do you think there was a
I think they were supposed to go to another neighborhood, not
Yeah,
ours.
it's the miscommunication, they went to, that's.
They
the
went to,
problem.
they went to
Yeah.
one neighborhood.
It's a whole other issue of interest.
I think they didn't know
Okay.
the zones. The zone
Susan,
numbers.
please chime in on this.
Just quickly,
Yes.
if our neighboring zone is being evacuated,
Yes,
we leave.
yes.
Because we need to get down out of Skyline and out of that mess early.
Mhm.
I don't care what's causing the backup. We need to get out before everyone else is getting out. So my leave so we need the map of the zones, which we're getting sent out. And if it's a zone next to us, I'm not gonna wait.
But the zone next to us didn't evacuate either.
But
It's
if
two
it,
zones away, yeah,
right, but if it, it's supposed in the better world,
Yeah.
it'll tell you
Yeah.
zone
Yeah.
130 is
Yeah.
evacuating, if that's next door to us.
go,
Then we gotta get.
go.
Am I right? I have lived here since 1974. I have only witnessed two, one was two actual evacuations where I don't really know about the first one in that way because I went to the store and on the way back, I couldn't, they stopped traffic at Skyline.
Yeah.
And that was the quarry. There was construction at the top of the apartment in quarry and it caught on fire. And there was a wind and it was blowing up, of course, and the danger was the ridge. And there were just tremendous number of airplanes and helicopters circling all around that morning. So it was a more imminent danger.
Yeah.
To our
That's part of the
area.
problem with keeping people enthusiastic about this.
Yeah.
Is that, 2 times in 30, 40 years, is hard to keep people excited about.
Chris?
Ma'am.
one question.
Yes, please.
I just have a question. I believe there's a fire trail through off of Lexford, and there's a gate there. Do we have keys? Does somebody have keys to that gate too? Because
That was the one you just had.
so many.
Was that it?
people-
That was Lexford, yeah, up there.
Excuse me?
That was the Lexford,
This is the lecture.
the Lexford one.
Okay, oh, I see. I'm sorry. I didn't understand that.
Yes, right here,
But we do have keys to that gate. Is that what you're saying?
I don't have keys.
No, there's no, there's
Where-
bolt cutters. We have a person key that will open all gates, called bolt cutters.
I'm just worried about, so many people who have all the bolt
Yeah.
cutters and the keys and.
You don't want to, you don't want to drive that road either.
No.
That's a walking road.
That's a
There's too many hairpins in that, coming to
Yeah.
Lexford,
But
but
that's,
that's a definite walking one.
that does bring up
Yeah.
something that we need to move this along,
Yeah.
but one of the things we want to talk about is a neighborhood registry. And that's an idea, because you alluded, all these people with bolt cutters, who here looks like they're carrying a bolt cutter or have one in their car? You really can't tell.
Either.
And so, and who here looks like they have a generator in their backyard that we could use and could wheel out somewhere? All these kind of things are not apparent. We need to consider having a neighborhood registry where we have our skills and our supplies and all that stuff listed.
So we're actually starting to build that. I spent Sunday just putting together basically everybody's names. So we have everybody's names, everybody's houses,
mostly contact information from Google Group and WhatsApp. But we need to start to fill it out in terms of who's got supplies, who are.
So there's skills, it's like,
Skills, a little more needy, people who
Yeah.
just need help. So, look for that in the next few months, we're gonna pull it together.
and I mentioned that when we talk about skills, we're talking about any kind of skills. So do not think, well, I don't have a doc, I'm not a doctor. No, if you're an electrician, or you used to be an electrician, or you were a nurse, or you are a nurse, all these kind of things count. So put everything down so that we know, because it's amazing what comes up and what needs we have, and it's amazing who can fill those needs. We have a very diverse group.
Is there an alternate route? Just
Yes.
asking.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, alternate route.
I thank you all for this, and now I'm gonna step on your side.
I can introduce myself real quick. Good morning. I don't know, if you don't know who I am, I'm Nick. I live up on Claire Point. I drive the big red tomato car that, Suburban that actually, my car from work, and I'm the fire chief for the city of Alameda. I worked in Oakland for 23 years for Oakland Fire. And I've been over in Alameda for a few years, so I know a little about fire and evacuations. My claim to fame is I actually brought myself and another chief from Alameda County Fire, the ones that started the whole Zone Haven project in the county. So your zone, I actually created this. Our zone is back in the day. Should have bought stock in the company. So, yeah, we were the second county to actually sign a contract with what was Zone Haven, which is now Genesis Protect. So anything you want to know about that, you can talk to me afterwards, and I can answer the questions about the zones and how they're activated. And just to touch real quickly on what Laura said, OPD was doing the best they could, and they were leaning forward. And yes, they got a little ahead of themselves, but. Better to be safe than sorry, but yes, we were not truly in a evacuation zone, but
it generated this though.
But it generated this, it's generating after action meetings in the city and discussions and the police department realizing, oh, we probably need to, this only happens every 15 to 20 years, so it's hard and lots of turnover, so the city realizes like, it was eye-opening experience, and they got to do a little more training and tabletop exercises. Again, I don't fault anyone for coming forward, and but there was conversations where some of the neighbors were like, "Wait, we're not, it's not yellow, we're not red." And also like, "What is that? Like, what are you looking at?" So again, they were doing the best, and I would never, question them per se. Well, it depends what they're talking to you about, but anyway, it all, it generated this, it got us all thinking about this, it's hopefully got the wheels turning about what would happen if it was actually, we gotta go now, like the fire's on our back doorstep. So, and I, unfortunately I've, with Brian, I've spent a lot of time going to disasters around the country as part of an urban search and rescue team. I was part of, I'm still part of a FEMA team for 20 years. So everything Chris says, and I guess, where's Chris? That's probably the best presentation I've ever seen from I usually send it back, having done this for 26 years, and I'm like, that's the best. That. I gotta say, everything that came out of Chris today was 100% spot on. And I mean, you got a future. You can start consulting, but yeah, everything's spot on, and everything, disasters, everything that can go wrong will go wrong in a true disaster, and everything that technology will fail us. ATMs won't work. I mean, we're talking about earthquakes and stuff like that. Things are getting better and more resilient, but you can't beat paper, when it comes down to it. Or, like everyone was saying, running through scenarios and going for hikes and stuff and having the muscle memory of what to do. Let me just start with a quick video.
You know it is.
That's by talking.
Excuse me, Nick. One of the things on the previous slides was turning off utilities. Are you gonna touch base on that? Cause I had a big question about that.
Turning off the wedding.
Utilities, like the
Especially if
gas
you've
and
got a generator that comes on automatically when the power goes out. Do you go turn the gas off? Do you generate? I mean, just those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Are we getting a sales pitch?
No,
No.
that should just, I don't know, why does it not go to?
All the utilities.
Yes.
I
don't know.
Nick, one more question while we're getting queued up here.
Not the
The reason why I'm so interested in finding out like what's going on with the location of those fires is I was burned out in the Oakland Hills fire.
Yes.
And so I'm very twitchy about it. In fact, one time we had a fire, I actually rented a van to move the shit out of our house because it was still far away. But anyways, the point is has anybody looked at that issue about the number of fires in that general location?
Tell me the location.
So smart, so smart.
Oh,
Oh, shoot, I just, wait, put it, no, go back.
We'll come back.
Here we go, okay, here we go. Okay, where's my mouth? Where is it? Put it all out. Here it is. Right there. Okay.
What's this?
Okay, go away.
Screen man. Little screen man.
Why did I get
Audio.
I don't know.
Anyway, there was a question about the reoccurring fires that are happening in that eucalyptus grove off of Keller. None of them, you know, I know of 3 of them in my time I've been part of Oakland Fire. All 3 of them were not suspicious in nature. There was not, you know, it's not like there's somebody back there that every 6 years says I'm gonna go light it on fire. The one that happened in 2002 was weed whacking. Someone decided weed whacking, you hired a contractor to weed whack behind their house, and that did that one. The other one, there's saying, I mean, the one that just happened, it's they saw somebody throwing something flaming out of the car, and they have witnesses and actually recovered some evidence on that. Actually, papers, I don't know. Which it just seems weird. Yeah, that's what the witness statement said. Like, again, it's take everything with a grain of salt, but I guess they said they did find some stuff. And then the other one was something, I think it was a chain or something driving a car. The one happened about 5 years ago. All right, shall we? So let's watch a quick little video about a Ready, Set, Go, which is about getting ready, you know, the stages of evacuation.
Burning nearly 25,000 acres.
Fire reported new evacuation this morning. The fire moved up a ridge line and then caught the Santa Ana winds perfectly.
In the summer of 2008, nearly 2,000 lightning-spark wildfires scorched over 1 million acres across California, destroying hundreds of structures and impacting the lives in the surrounding community forever.
I never thought it was going to happen to me. You know, you always figure it's the other guy that's going to get their house burned.
And with California's Mediterranean climate, another fire siege of that magnitude is just a matter of time. I'm Cal Fire's Daniel Berland. Devastating wildfires occur every year across the state, putting lives, property, and state natural resources at a constant threat. In California, wildfires aren't a question of if, but only a question of when. If you choose to live near a natural area of the state, you are at risk for wildfire, and it's your responsibility to prepare yourself, your family, and your home. And that preparation starts with 3 simple steps. Ready, set, go. Readiness before wildfire happens is a vital first step in protecting yourself and your property. Beginning in the spring months, well before the peak of fire season, you should carefully assess your property, start taking steps to prepare the hotter months to come.
As firefighters are responding to fires throughout California, one of the most important things they can look for is defensible space.
Defensible space is the required 100 feet between your property and the surrounding wildland area. Defensible space has consistently been shown to be the best, most practical first line of defense for your home against wildfires. Adequate defensible space provides a barrier to slow, or in some cases even halt, the progress of fire that would otherwise engulf the property.
It also helps ensure the safety of firefighters while they defend your home.
I'm gonna have to go to homes that provide some type of clearance for my firefighters. I cannot go to a home that needs, has brush and everything growing right up to it. I've got to pick a home where I can safely make a stand, and if we get stuck there, that we can survive it as well.
When the destructive lightning thief fires burned throughout California in 2008, defensible space once again proved to be a key element around the homes that survived, while many homes without adequate clearance were not as fortunate. But defensible space isn't the only factor in protecting your property. Another critical step is hardening your home. During a wildfire, loose flying embers can find weak points on the outside of your home. Hardening your home means reinforcing these vulnerabilities. Cal Fire Battalion Chief Nick Schuler demonstrates some of the components of a well-protected home.
As you see here, they have an excellent green belt around their home. All of their trees are limbed up, so there's no dead and dying vegetation around their home. And as you can see, as we walk along, all the leaf litter's been picked up, and we move straight into the fire-resistant construction. They have the stucco siding, they have the enclosed eaves, and the composite roof. All proactive steps that this homeowner's taken to reduce fire potential.
Now that you have your home ready for a wildfire, it's time to get set by preparing your most valuable assets, your life and the lives of your family. You should start by creating a wildfire action plan. A wildfire action plan gives you and your family a chance to plan out and write down important information and special preparations that you'll need to take as a wildfire approaches.
As part of your wildfire action plan, you want to sit down with your family and talk about things like escape routes, what roads are you going to take when you leave the house, and the other thing is where you're going to go. You want to have a meeting location.
Your family's plan will be unique depending on your circumstances, so it's vital that you practice and update it regularly to keep everybody prepared. It's also important to plan which belongings in your house you'll need to take with you in case of evacuation, if you have time.
Who took their passports?
What you're going to take with you when you leave.
Oh, good.
Nothing you have to leave.
Mine
You know, like you
has
take-
it should be a safe deposit box.
Stuff that This was the first thing you saw.
Yeah. Actually.
Wildfires can move quickly to change direction into a surrounding community without warning. With the assurance that your home is now well defended and your family's wildfire action plan in place, when a wildfire approaches, you're now ready to go. During a wildfire, emergency personnel may not be able to warn everybody, so it's up to you to take the initiative to stay informed by listening to the TV or radio for announcements. If an evacuation is imminent, it's time to set your wildfire action plan into motion. Don't wait to be ordered to leave your residence, just go, and go early. By leaving early, you give your family the best chance of surviving a wildfire.
Follow the directions of fire and law enforcement, and if you feel threatened, you need to go ahead and get out of that home. We have a lot of systems in place to notify you of that, but you have to be willing to get out and get out early.
Although wildfires can be unpredictable, destructive, and deadly, they're an undeniable part of California's wildland. Wildfire is coming, and it's the steps you take now that will ensure you, your family, and your home have a fighting chance when it happens. For more information on how to prepare for wildfires and for a wildfire action plan checklist, visit readyforwildfire.org.
All right.
You wanna watch the Genesis one as well? Who wants to watch it?
Yeah. Let me talk. It's readyforwildfire.org, great website. A lot of information on there. I got one on the Genesis app, Genesis Protect app. But one thing I always talk about, and well, I went to Alameda, so I don't have to actually worry about wildfire anymore. It was like a great strategic move on my part. I have 7 acres of an old trash dump now that burns every year, and no one cares. They don't get excited actually. So, but when I was in Oakland, I do a lot of community meetings about wildfire and prevention and stuff like that. And one of the things I've always tried to preach and educate is red flags. So what does red flag mean to everyone? What does red flag mean?
High temperature winds.
Yeah.
Be ready.
Be ready. Okay. Good.
October.
Good. October. Good. So be ready. So what do people do differently when we're under a red flag warning? Yep, that's exactly my point. You guys are good, right on cue. So what I've always tried to teach and instruct and share is that red flag is like a hurricane warning in the south. It's a National Weather Service warning. There's a red flag advisory, red flag warning. And trying to get the communities to understand that this is a National Weather Service telling you we could have a weather event. It's just like taking, half of the, eastern seaboard or, 3 states saying a hurricane could hit here, be prepared. That's what the National Weather Service is telling us. It could hit here. And it is truly an event. It's not, I think we get lulled in because there's red flags and nothing happens. Well, it might not be happening here, but the winds might be in alignment in the North Bay. And it's hard to predict where those winds are going to come in alignment and where I don't want to get into the weather, but it has to do with the Four Corners out in the Midwest and how the troughs get all there and it fires everything down. But they have to, they do their best to predict, and it is a true event. So when they say it's going to be a red flag from Friday to Sunday, it doesn't mean that the winds are going to blow from Friday to Sunday. They're predicting somewhere in that bookmark, we have an alignment that we can have a wind event. And a wind event can last 2 hours. A wind event can last for 6 hours. It can go for 6 hours and then die down for 6 hours and then come back for another 6 hours.
Which happened to us.
So I guess one of the things I hope people can walk away is when they hear red flag on the news and stuff like that, that you start thinking like, okay, someone's telling us we should be ready. So what is ready? Everyone's ready is going to be different for each person, right? If you have access and functional needs, items, that mobility challenges, hearing, whatever it is. I always say, pay close attention to the weather, have a plan where you're going to go. If the wind does start picking up, and we all know when the wind's picking up, like it's breezy, it's breezy. When the house starts shaking because of the wind, like that's, oh no, this is not good. Like that's when I even start getting puckered and like we're loading stuff in the car and we've left. I mean, I've left on big windy days. Like let's just get out of here. So if you're access and functional needs, I always have tried to encourage individuals to have a plan. If the winds truly do start getting past breezy, leave. Go to a friend's house. Go to a family member's house, somewhere down the hill, and have that plan. Then you don't have to deal with traffic, and you don't have to give 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out how to get out of here. I know it's asking a lot, but it's better to do. And now, again, I'm not saying just because it says red flag, conditions have to also be materializing. For the rest of us, we talked about gas. Make sure your car, I always make sure my car has gas. All my cars have gas in it. The kids, my kids, they're getting older now. Red flag days, they do not stay home alone. I do not leave my children home alone. One's almost about to drive. Well, one's gone off to college. I almost got another one driving. So it'll be a lot easier because then at least I know they get in a car and get out there. But kids don't stay at home. The dog, sorry, Wilbur. Wilbur does stay at home. Hopefully neighbors will grab. I leave my window open on red flag nights. Partially because I put wind chimes outside my window, my door. And partially because I used to be responsible for the whole city of Oakland. And I wanted to know what the weather is doing, but I still continue to do it. If I start hearing those wind chimes, because I know it takes some weather, wind to get them going. If I start hearing it, it wakes me up. It kind of like, okay, what's going on? I also leave it open, and they're I think they're pretty much getting phased out. But we do have a siren system in the city. We have 26 sirens that are around the city. We got one sitting right there at the firehouse. You'll see it sitting in the parking lot. I've always left my windows open. I call them pokers. All those things are doing is telling you something's happening. That's when you got to go to your TVs, your radios, like what's actually happening? I'm hearing the siren. Has everyone heard the siren go off the first Wednesday at noon?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Because I've done meetings where people are like, what? I've never heard the siren. I go, well, you have it? Well, no, I work in San Francisco. Oh, well, maybe we should actually start doing them on Saturdays, but no one ever listened to me on that one. But I always leave my windows open, or like we had the other day, sirens in the neighborhood. Driving around, PA systems, like something, or lots of sirens somewhere, close by. I mean, we all hear. I mean, well, I don't know. I can't sleep anymore because I'm always listening for kids sneaking out of the house. Just just to have situational awareness. Now, with that said, just leave it cracked on red flags, just so I can get a feel of what's happening. With that said, if you do leave, make sure you shut that window and shut that door, so they're not left open. But the point being, red flag is telling us something. Have a plan. We have go bags, probably a little out of date. Probably nothing will fit me in them anymore. But we have go bags in the garage. You know, go bags get pulled off the shelf. They're sitting there. Like those are the little things. Like Chris said, don't wait for the red flag to start taking pictures of all of the inside of your house. You should be doing that annually. I assume your insurance agents are telling you to do that. Either videos or something that sits up on iCloud. Yeah.
I want to bring up a point. Nick is right about closing those windows and doors. Make sure you have a house key, because there aren't that many locksmiths, and getting into your house when you've evacuated and forgotten your house key is going to be a problem.
Nick, I have a question.
How about watering your grounds or watering?
Waste of time, waste of water.
And
Don't bother. Don't get on your roof with a hose. It's not good. If the wind's blowing and it's blowing like that, what you water is going to be dried out.
But I meant is it ready and you don't, wind hasn't started. I mean, just, it doesn't make a difference.
Not any difference. No. If you have juniper, I'd get rid of it now. You got juniper in your yard. Anyone got juniper? Might as well pour gasoline in your yard. I'm sorry. I don't want juniper. The way it works is the embers are going to fly. They're going to be a half-mile ahead of the fire. If it's a wind-driven fire, it's going to. My concern is Redwood Road with a north wind. The wind's coming this way. Something car fire down off of Redwood Road. It's in alignment. We call it in alignment with the wind. So it's got topography coming up the hill, and it's got the wind blowing it like a blowtorch. And I'm not trying to do doom and gloom. It's just reality. Embers will start a half mile ahead before even fire gets here. Half mile, 3/4 mile ahead.
Yeah.
All it takes is one of those to land in your juniper or other brush, but juniper is known to just go up quickly, and then it'll just go up, and then the house is on fire. Then that's the end of that. But
I remember the Napa fires. Of course, we got the smoke, but I remember that one night smelling smoke, of course, and and I turned on the television and it was just fire, of Napa. But I thought, if we had a howling wind coming up the canyon, nothing would stop.
no, it's not. Question.
Yes, about locking doors. Should we leave our doors unlocked and everything closed?
Usually, well, the textbook answer I'm supposed to give is leave your door unlocked. And it's only saying to leave it unlocked to allow firefighters to get in if they start seeing smoke coming from your eaves, or embers gotten in there and start seeing smoke. That's the textbook answer. The reality is we live where we live, and that's really hard to embrace that I'm going to leave my house unsecure. So lock your door, because guess what? We're still going to break it down.
Right.
If you need to get into your house, trust me, we'll get into that house. I know Chris says, they're getting harder and harder to get in. Guaranteed, we'll get in that house and we'll be in quickly.
You lose a door, but not all your.
I was gonna say, tag on to that, while we know that we're getting the evacuation order, people know that, other people know that too. Come, like you said.
Oh, totally. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, and like I said, there's discussions, and so I missed a meeting a couple of months ago, about 6 months ago. I missed a meeting with the county fire chiefs, and so I ended up getting slid into what they call the operational area coordinator. So I oversee, I'm responsible for all mutual aid in the county. So whether it's coordinating all the resources in the county, or like we did for the Keller fire, we started pulling stuff in from Contra Costa and San Francisco. I'm part of that. So point being, I'm also part of the conversations that are happening as the after action on the Keller fire, and that is one of the things that law enforcement realize. Like, if you tell people to get out, you can't let people come in. You can't be telling everyone to go, and other people are coming in and stuff like that. They know about the whole Waze thing. I think the lesson learned there is, if you don't have to shut the whole freeway down, because you didn't have to shut the whole freeway down, but that was the easiest thing to do. As soon as you get that thing, the freeway back open, when you address it. But yeah, 100%. And if it's an extended evacuation, if we're out for a while, it's key that law enforcement starts doing ID checks and not letting people in, because you're right, the bad actors are going to find themselves. Yes.
You had mentioned
Red flag, lawn care, furniture,
Yeah.
things like that.
So red flag, Dan, I mean, this I'm guilty of not doing, but one of the other things you can do is prep your home. And prepping is, again, it would be getting anything combustible away. Lawn furniture, wood stacks that you have near the house, everything you can get away, further away from the house where an ember could land in and light it on fire. If it lights on fire, it's not getting the house on fire. Close your blinds. So that radiant heat, it helps a little bit with radiant heat. So if there is a radiant heat and there's fire coming through, it does help a little bit with the radiant heat, per se. We talked about utilities. That's more, I mean, the house is gonna burn down. I mean, you can turn your gas off. It's not usually the normal. I mean, that's more of an earthquake thing. After an earthquake, turn the gas off because of gas leaks. I mean, if the house catches on fire, you've all seen it. Everyone's gas lines are on fire after the house is gone and stuff. We always do say that leave your lights on. You know, so don't turn your light. You know, leave the lights on in case it just makes it easier if we have to go in the house and check the house and stuff. If we need to turn the power off, we'll figure out how to turn the power off. And also, kind of back to the safety thing, it also makes it feel more secure in that aspect. So the point on the red flag, don't just let it be chatter in your ear. Just think. I mean, I'm not saying do anything drastic. Don't put fire hoses around the house and hook up the hydrants and stay up 24 hours waiting for it to happen. But just think. In full disclosure, I don't know. I mean, I was doing a little chatter on the websites and the WhatsApps on there, and I was actually out of state. But I'm pissed off my family because I hotel room became a command post, and I was watching live feeds and stuff. And I actually can access. So there's they send a recon airplane out of Sacramento. There's one in Southern California, Northern California, and I actually can access into their live footage. So I was actually watching the live footage coming off of that, and I was. At first I was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna get a new house. But then I was like, well, I got the kids, we're together, we're in Utah, the dog's at doggy daycare. I'm like, okay. And I actually just upped my insurance. So then I was like, they're gonna accuse me of starting a fire. Yeah, I wasn't overly concerned about that fire. Wind's going that way.
Yeah.
So fire was that way, like anyone that way, I think we should have been concerned. It was just, it's coming up that hillside, and I wasn't overly concerned. Fire back there, like we've had a couple on Redwood Road. Those are a little more concerning for us. And my philosophy is, any fire when there's not a windy day, yes, there's potential for a few houses to get threatened. The wind day, it's all bets. It's no one knows what's going to happen if it's happening that way. The wind's going there, so that's where I'm going to be. When someone's saying, "Oh, well, there's a fire in Fort Meadow," that's when I'm going to be like, "Oh, that's not good." Bad. So I want to talk about red flags. We talked about. Chris covered a lot of this. I mean, prepping, having a meeting place is essential. I know. Everyone said they picked Burkhalter. I agree that was an interesting place to pick as your evacuation site. I feel like this neighborhood always seems to congregate towards Safeway there, which gets filled up. But have somewhere, a meeting place, especially if you get separated. Cell system, as Chris said, has gotten much better, but can still get overloaded. I mean, it can if it gets too many people using it, the towers just get overloaded, and you have trouble getting calls go out. So as long as you have a backup plan, if you're separated from your loved ones or your kids, you have a general idea of where you're gonna meet up. Evacuation routes, we're kind of screwed. I know we are. Let me mention real quick. I get a question. Yeah. Hey, it's a great place to live. Let's be honest. I mean, we have a lot of ways out here.
But that's where I'm here, so.
No, I mean the walking routes are key. With that, I mean it's. I would use that as a last resort. The other thing with evacuations is what and a lot of the situations that have had fatalities and stuff is where people start abandoning their cars, and now you're everyone up behind you is done. Like they have nowhere to go. So You know, if you already abandoned the car, try to get off the street, off the sidewalk, out of the way, so other people can still, and emergency vehicles can get in.
That's my concern,
Yeah.
is that people are gonna panic and that as they sit there and they're all gonna, they're gonna abandon the car, that's human nature.
Where would, so if you're on Skyline, one of the places always in my mind that I'm gonna go if I can't get out, I'm going to the football field. As a safety zone.
Yeah.
It's a huge area without combustibles around it, unfortunately it's plastic now, so it might start melting around you, but it's a little plastic, but football field's probably our bestest, safety zone that I can think of up here if we can't get out of the neighborhood per se. You know, and it's always gonna be a wide area, we don't have a lot of open areas or open spaces that we can go to. There's a question in the back of it there.
Question, so last time the fire happened in Keller area, you are going toward, the evacuation one is going toward the high school and then Redwood Road. But if it happened in the canyon, what is our best chance of survival, which is the evacuation route?
You mean behind us? If
Yeah.
it happened off Redwood Road or Port Meadow?
Redwood Road, Skyline.
Yeah, go that way.
Like,
There you go, I mean, so you got, I mean, we have two choices, right?
yeah.
We go left or we go right.
Right.
That is, I mean, that's all our options are, and if it was behind, I would probably go left, because I don't wanna go towards the Redwood Road area, and the emergency vehicles are heading that way and stuff like that, so I'd probably go left. People have asked me like, oh, what about contraflow and driving on the other side? Nah, that's up to everyone. I'm not getting into that. Like, I can't say that's like, there's no set plan. Like up in Paradise, Paradise had an amazing plan. Amazing. Spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing a plan. They bought 10,000 traffic cones, and they were gonna do contraflow all the way into Chico because they knew how susceptible or how their risk was. Every traffic control point, where the officers were gonna be to direct all the traffic, and it, you know, they ran a couple drills and all went great. When the fire happened, it all completely failed. I mean, there was no time to even put a traffic cone out. I mean, it came in like a freight train early in the morning, and there was no traffic cones, there was no officers on duty, like it just failed. So people always say, well, what about the evacuation routes? Where are they? No one ever tells us where they are. It's so hard. Tell me where the fire is gonna start, and then I can tell you where the evacuation zone is gonna be. But that's always been the thing. Like everyone's like, which is the evacuation route? You just can't do it. Like it has to be common sense, and I always say, go away from the red stuff and the smoke. Go the opposite direction, and that's your evacuation route. So, does that help you at all? I mean,
Most likely the fire will happen over there because of the racing and the burn cost, so I agree with you.
Yeah, I'd go left. I go left. Everyone knows you can turn, do the whole Hanson thing and kind of there, but traffic's always gonna be the challenge.
Yeah.
Textbook, take one car. Is everyone really gonna take one car if you think that's all you're gonna have left is your cars? No, everyone grabs as many cars as they possibly can. How many cars did you? Which one, actually? Which car are you taking?
Expensive car.
Which one is the car? Yeah, which one's the car taking? But yeah, I mean, ideally, everyone's getting, families are all going in one car. I always laugh at that because if you think you're about to lose your house, my wife's taking that one, I'm taking this one. I mean, I'm the fire chief, and I'll probably still take 2 cars. Question?
Would you ever evacuate into the middle of the horse arena?
Yeah. That's actually not, yeah, I mean, that's the horse arena, the city stables.
Oh, city stables.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel safe there, it's not gonna be comfortable.
Yeah.
You're gonna not feel very happy if it's there, you're gonna be eating, I mean. You'll be fine, I would suspect that he doesn't have anything combustible around you, so you would be fine with the horse arena. I mean, I would feel comfortable with doing that, but it's not gonna, yeah. If you Google my name, you'll see what happened to me up in the North Bay fires, and I wrote out, I got burned over in the North Bay fires, it sucks, so.
I was also thinking about the Mormon tabernacle that they have across the street, there's a big parking lot, cemented.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, I mean, I hope at that point you're able to get on a freeway and try to get out of here. Question, second, nope. No, that's a
Brian's in, and then we'll Brian's.
Oh, yeah, so, Oakland Hills Fire got burned out in that. That was, I think most of the fatalities happened with people who were stuck, couldn't get out. Were there any lessons learned that you know about that? What could have been, what could the folks who ended up perishing, what could they have done differently? Or is it not, there's no thought?
No, I mean, it's the same, same happened in Paradise. It's, go early.
Right.
I mean, they go early, but the problem, Oakland Hills Fire didn't have really much early.
No, there was
there was a lot of early.
But it was clearly coming, and there was enough time. There was actually.
Yeah, I mean, you tried to go early. Everyone that says they left, early here a couple weeks ago said it was great. I mean, it was like, so again, everyone's like, "What is the evacuation plan?" There could be a great plan, but no one would ever. If I was making evacuation plans here, I would have never taken into consideration. Oh, what happens when they close 580? And where does Waze reroute everyone? Like that would have never even crossed in my mind. Now I would think about it, but so you hit the trifecta there. Everyone was being told to get out. 580 was being rerouted up to Skyline Boulevard, and the high school was letting out. They had no clue. They were just all apparently what I just told everyone's like, just another day out of high school getting their hot dogs at the hot dog guy on the side.
Susan? Yeah, so we have the pedestrian route to go across Skyline down Bacon to Merritt's backyard, which is the other route we're gonna talk about.
Which is another safety zone.
That's walking, nobody should be taking their car there, so that's not that far, so it's not as dire as it might be if you have to walk across Skyline, you walk down to Skyline, take a right, and a left as soon as you can, and that's Bacon, and that takes you right down to the back gate, which we have cutters for at Merritt.
And that is nice parking lots and football fields, and you could ride it out back there.
Don't drive.
Don't drive or block it all up.
I was just gonna say the recommendation that we have drills is really critical, particularly, in terms of the time of the day. We were lucky that this was midday. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning.
Or at night.
Well, that's 2 o'clock in
I
the
think
morning.
about The winds were really picking up that morning, so I was grateful that.
It's chaotic, right?
That the
It's
fire
smoky,
was
you
there.
get disoriented, so it's important that we do those drills. Tim, go ahead.
So during the Keller fire, there was chatter on the radio about water pressure and having to find alternative sources and other hookup for the trucks. Was that an issue in the 91, and would it be an issue for us up here because we're higher, we're at the top?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was an issue in 91. The big issue in 91 was since we are in the hills, it's all supported by pumps, and the pumps didn't have power. And when the pumps don't have power, the water wasn't getting pumped up. That was one issue. Second issue is Oakland had hydrants that were not compatible with other jurisdictions, so they couldn't hook up. Most hydrants were 2.5 inches. Oakland had 3 inches. People didn't have fittings that were coming in with mutual aid. That was 91. That's been addressed. Everything's the right fittings here. The pumps are on backup power now, so they're all supposed to pump. The Keller fire, I love my Oakland fire friends, but we also they like to shoot a lot of water. You saw the video of everyone shooting the big streams of water over there. I know exactly where they were running water pressure, but they did collapse a water main. Yeah, they did collapse a water main down at the bottom of the hill. They were, I don't want to say it was because of the action. Just so everyone knows, the water system is old also. So keep that in mind after an earthquake. I wouldn't be surprised if we're weeks without water up here. But yeah, East Bay Mud is trying to update there, but what happened there is they collapsed the water main due to water, most likely due to the flow. So if you're pulling too much water out of the system, it starts just, creating issues with the piping and suctions and stuff like that, and vacuums, and it collapsed, and actually a car ended up in a sinkhole just to add salt to the wound. But I do have to say, Oakland just did buy 2 water tenders, so now water tenders that can bring water to the fire engines. You guys also maybe have heard Red Flag Days. We actually now do pre-positioning of resources, and those resources, both from this county and Contra Costa County, were on that fire within 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So that was an additional 40 plus firefighters and 10 additional engines. And that's all, you can thank your state government or legislator for that, because they set aside money just for that to be used around the state, after Paradise.
And the air support, the Cal Fire air support was quick.
The Cal air support, you guys got to see the C-130, if anyone got to see that thing come over there,
Oh my
those
God.
just went into service this year. Those are old Coast Guard C-130s, and they've been working on them for 2 years, and they just started using them this year, so that was kind of exciting to see. You guys saw anyone see the jet circling around, and yeah, someone thinks that looks like a Southwest jet. Yeah. Yeah, insurance, no. That'll be the next meeting that you can run. Insurance.
It's actually.
It's coming, yeah, I mean, it's coming.
Probably all of us, I think some of us have already started based on the conduct, which I started some of the things the insurance company will require. But
that wasn't your question.
That wasn't my question. I have great concern about a spark in the park.
Spark in the park, that's what I drink.
No, you know, there's a campground down there in Bort Meadow, between Bort Meadow and here is tons of dry brush, tons of down trees going down for here. Just massive amount of dry fuel that creates so much heat that it doesn't matter what we do in our neighborhood, the sparks. So, I've been writing to East Bay Regional every year, sometimes twice a year, saying, please, please. They keep telling me they have a plan, they have a budget, they are doing it, and I haven't seen it, and I don't understand whether, based on looking at the plan, whether there's really any plan to clear the dead underbrush, that essentially is the pathway of the fire to our neighborhood. So, I guess I have a few questions related to that. One is, you know, I had great comfort from how quickly a fire department was able to get to a fire on Cellar and 580. I have a lot of fear about how quickly it can identify if a fire started in the park. And so I don't know if there are mechanisms to identify those fires. I don't know what exists. And then also if we have thought ideas about what as neighborhoods we might do to encourage regional.
So the alerting system, well, there is some technology. If you look at there's a light pole in front of Martin and Stephanie's house. If you look at the top of that light pole, you'll see a gizmo up there. That's a smoke sensing device. That is, I believe, right? I believe this is one of them. It looks like them. That is up there. It senses smoke 24/7, and it actually it sends an alert to the fire dispatch center. So they're sporadically throughout the hills. They haven't truly been, they work in labs and then work in other cities, but yeah, those have been installed. Those were installed a few years ago there. The other thing that is, and there's a massive camera system. Unfortunately, there's nothing that actually can, I think, see in the backside there. But statewide, there is an alert wildfire. It's called alertwildfire.org, and there is a mesh of cameras that have been set up statewide that can be controlled by Sacramento, by PG&E, and by Cal Fire. That they can spin those around. Some of them do have sensing technology for heat imaging. And it will alert. Doesn't help you back here. I don't think any of them actually can pick that up. The nice part is usually we have people that are smelling the smoke in our neighborhood. Like you're like, there's smoke, and trust me, having getting woken up many times in the middle of the night for a report of smell smoke in the air. That is probably our best, being such a populated area that someone's going to be like, I smell smoke. I should call 911. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't think anyone's barbecuing, kind of thing. For that, I mean, that's a big concern back there. I don't know. I know they have a plan. I don't know if that's on the plan. I think that would be maybe a future meeting. That we could maybe ask somebody to come from East Bay Regional Parks to come talk about our concerns with, pretty much the whole perimeter of the neighborhood. You know, it's, yes, ideally, they create a shady fuel break, they could burn out the understory and control burns, it's a little steep, I'd be a little cautious to do control burns back there and stuff. I think I would be happy if they would come clear 100-foot buffers along all the backs of the property. I don't back up to it, because I'm not sure everyone's on board with that, they don't want it cleared behind them, but that's the solution. It's not gonna help with embers, if it's the winds are going, this is what I always tell everyone. Fire department's gonna be great any day there's a fire and the winds aren't blowing. You got a great fire department here. If the winds aren't blowing, you're gonna have resources, fire will be an acre or two, stuff. It doesn't matter how big of a fire department have, how many resources CAL FIRE has, how many airplanes and helicopters showing up. If the wind's 30, 40 miles an hour, there's zero we can do to stop it. It's a freight train. We wait for it's all we're trying to do is save houses as the fire's moving along. There's no, and I hate to, I'm just being honest. Like, you can't, when the wind's going and the fire's going a half mile ahead and embers are dropping, and I'm talking, like, we're not talking like little embers, like we're talking chunks of wood. Because what happens is it gets a convection column and there's so much energy pushing up these burning embers. And they get up, and then once they get up there, the wind grabs them and they throw them out in front of the fire. And that's where it's so important to be ready, set and go. Like don't be like, oh, the fire department's here, yeah, they're gonna save us. We won't save you. You're not probably saving your house. And I'm just trying to be realistic. So when the wind picks up, that's when you really need to get the hair on the back of your neck going and just start thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna stay Bob's house down, down by Lakeshore tonight or something like that. Houses are replaceable. They are. I know it sucks to lose them. They're replaceable. No, not so much. We can't get replaced at all. Back to Chris's saying, anything that you just think of yourself, close your eyes. God, what would I miss the most if I lost my house? And that's the stuff you got to take care of now. Whether it's putting it up on a cloud, whether fireproof safes are pretty good, depending on which ones you get. But if there's something, heirlooms like that, and it's something you really cherish, put that on the list, and that's what you got to grab when you go. Because like Chris said, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're I got a list. I gotta go get this stuff. One more question.
I was just wondering, hi everyone, I'm new here, so I haven't been on the email.
Hey, it's a great neighborhood, just a long time.
I was just wondering, is there any structured or like a volunteer team for moments of emergency or crisis? Because
It's all of me.
Yeah, that was your answer.
So something we want to start to think about is years ago we had block captains. And I think it'd be smart for us to try to implement that again, because the reality is that it's like, I'm not gonna run and hit everybody's house. If something's happening, I'm not gonna knock everyone's door. And so we have to kind of be responsible for little pods. So we're starting to think about what are the little pods we can create, and just, hey, a 3, 4, 5 house kind of radius. And ultimately though, Chris, we're talking about, right, we can do as much as we can, but ultimately we've got to design it where you are self-sustainable, right?
Right, and that comes with search training, and what used to be the old core program, built as core as an umbrella. Look at the core, the Open Fire website, look for core, and look at the trainings we have. There used to be a very elaborate set of protocols that we tried to put in place all around, as it turns out, earthquake resiliency. But it's sort of morphed now, and it's gone to the national program. It's more of the CERT style, and it's the CERT curriculum, and we can go a long way in getting CERT education, and that includes setting up a phone tree, setting up a responsibility tree around the neighborhood, setting up a command post if we need to. All that stuff is covered in CERT. And so that training is open to everybody, and if we were all CERT people, then we have our own CERT neighborhood. There's benefits to come from that. We'd be eligible for some goodies from the federal government, FEMA for that. So absolutely, let's get the CERT training.
I think we'd love to get to that point. We need help with that, and we can't do it ourselves. So anyone who's willing to volunteer, and I'll kind of ask volunteer at the end,
please let us know. It takes a lot to develop, but we need your help. So, but that'd be great. But until then, we gotta be self-sustainable too, okay? Does that sort of help answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, did I get everything? Did we talk about something? Yeah. Doom and gloom, man, doom and gloom, yeah. What's that?
So,
Yeah, do the go bags.
so let's do about 5 minutes. So this is Susan, we'll talk about go back for a second, and then we'll leave the remainder for some questions that people have emailed in, and we'll go through and ask the questions as well, so. I think we ran out of pamphlets, but we will email what Susan's handing out. If you don't get one, we'll email them out as well, so. Hey, Mark.
Thank you.
You wanna help her pass those out? Get Susan. Oh, okay.
Sorry, not a good idea.
Okay, real quick.
Hey, Susan.
Yes.
Just, here, what's this?
Okay.
Grab one, pass it around. Make it easy. Thank you so much. Susan Silverman. Hey.
About go bags, they're a pain in the neck, I know, nobody wants to deal with them, they're heavy, they're obnoxious, and they're confusing. And when you look at the go bag list, which are everywhere, very agency has them, they're general. So I was trying to make one that's specific to us, so this is an attempt. Now, since we have the issues of escape, I have 2 different elements of the go bag, and you'll see on your list, the ones on the left, the fire in the backyard, you guys talked about, that's the 91 fire, I wanted to remind us if it could happen to us. But on the other side, you'll see heart stickers, it's my granddaughter. The first heart sticker is for a carryable or roller, a bowl, go bag. So that we could carry what we need down the hill if we had to. So you're supposed to have a gallon of water per person per day. There's no way I can carry a gallon of water. I found I could carry 3 16-ounce bottles and the rest of my backpack. And that'll last me until tomorrow, which is good. I have a bag for the dog with some water in it. My husband has a bag. Here's the thing about the mental capacity you're talking about. Our brain says, no, stay here, don't go out there, it's the unknown. And the cure for that is practice. So with a go bag, for example, once you pack it all up, which I know you're gonna do right today, put it on your back and walk around with it in your house for just a couple of minutes. That's gonna help a lot. Yes, sir.
So about the water issue, they have very portable, convenient water filters. Different companies with different ones. There's a company called Grail that makes them that actually filters right into the drinking receptacle. And it's a high quality filter. I'm not sure why these don't end up on lists so much, but they're really, I think they're critical because they're often our sources of water, but they're not drinkable. And then you can make the water drinkable.
You want to send that out? So
Sure.
that would be great.
Absolutely.
Costco zone. What's that?
Costco zone.
Costco, okay, great. Thank you. So the other thing is, if you look at the bottom of the sheet, there are 2 links that I really like. One is a video, it's 3 minutes long that shows you how to do a go bag. It was a really good one. And the other link is a little test that will show you if you know what you're doing with your go bag. It's very helpful. It's a little away from the thing. And I think that is all I really wanted to let you know. If you have better, you talked already about the alerts, but again, if you have to, you have 2 sets of go bags on this list. One is a car and one is pedestrian. And if you get the alert that allows you to actually leave on Skyline, you put both of those in your car. If, however, you don't get that alert, you can't use Skyline, then just take the carry-on that you can carry or pull if you have a suitcase with wheels, something like that.
One more thing.
Yes.
Sorry. About medications, if it's not clear what's gonna happen, you should have 3 weeks. At the minimum, 3 weeks of medication if possible. Available to go, when you need to go.
It's hard for some people, some medications, they don't let you do that. I understand all of that.
Yeah.
Get what you can. It's lightweight, you can carry it.
And if you need, one recommendation, you know, that there should be a provision for people to be able to get extra prescriptions for this purpose, but there isn't. I've wanted that for years, but you know, for whatever your medications are, if you periodically just say that you lost it or somebody stole it, so you can get an extra. No, I'm serious. I mean, you know, whatever it takes so that you can get a reserve. And actually these days, because so many medications are sort of short supply and they're going in and out at food available, people get stuck without them. Having a surplus of your medication is really a good idea. But again, 3 weeks, particularly if something really bad happens, you need at least 3 weeks.
I haven't tested this yet, but I did call my Kaiser, if you are a Kaiser member. They told me that the pharmacist, if you call the pharmacy, they will issue you an extra supply of medications for your go bag. And like I said, I haven't tested it yet because I have an extra supply right now, but at least I was told the Kaiser Oakland pharmacy would do that.
That's great.
Do you call the pharmacy directly?
Call the pharmacy directly.
Okay.
And they need your prescription information, of course, so. Cause I thought I could just order it through their online.
No,
No,
they won't let
it's not,
you.
it's
No.
too early.
Yeah,
So,
they won't
yeah,
allow
you have
you.
to, yeah, and your physician can't help you, but the pharmacy can.
Oh, okay. That's
Good point.
Thanks.
That's what they told me. I said,
You could
I
also
can't make
do after
promises.
the fact.
Okay, well, somebody run through a test and then we just email it to the group, say it worked.
Instead of forwarding.
So I just want to also say that we have the 2 bags, one stays in your garage, the heavy one. When you get that alert, you can throw both of them in your car. Any other questions?
Anything else?
Oh, I'm gonna say something about drugs.
What kind of drug are you talking about?
The prescription kind. Was an Air Force study many years ago, sort of famous, about how long your medications last. Medications last vastly longer than the expiration date on the thing. If you want to look this up from someone authoritative, look on the web, look up Air Force medication life. And it will tell you about the study that where the Air Force was faced with millions of dollars to replace expired meds. They said, hey, is any good? They test them, and non-liquid medications will last a long time. So that's the trick, is if it's something like insulin, then you have to watch the expiration dates. But if it's pills, don't throw them away just because the date has been reached. Put them in your go bag so you have them around, because there's a good chance they're going to be 80s, 70s, and up in effectiveness, even though they are expired.
If they're a cool, dark place, they're gonna last longer, and if you have insulin, even though it says refrigerate, does not need to be refrigerated.
No, the problem with insulin is as soon as you open the top, you get oxygen in there, so that's oxidized. But as long as it's sealed, you're right. Yep.
So we have some pre-emailed in questions. I want to just get through them, and then anything else we'll leave to the end.
Oh, like panel discussion.
Sure.
It's like, man, I've seen this TED Talks.
Totally.
TED Talk.
So we have a siren system. When is that actually inside? Because it wasn't implemented during the fire. And when, like, you have a sense of what actually is in the. Okay, fair enough.
I've kind of been compiling questions and things that I will send to, the city has an Office of Emergency Services or Emergency Management Services. So that's one of them that I've heard several people say, when does that actually get done? I don't know why it wasn't utilized, and I don't know.
Good job testing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they actually just spent a bunch of money rehabbing them. I mean, I think they're on, some cities have already, some have phased them out, and then Berkeley just put a whole new system in that actually talks to you.
Oh,
and it actually broadcasts messages across it out there. So but they spent $10 million, and if you don't know, Oakland doesn't have actually $10 million right now.
What?
Yeah. We got a little bit of a money issue going on. What was the other one?
That was only one that was really specific to you, but.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't used, and
But if it goes off, you just tune into the
basically
radio
I call it a poker.
to find out what's
I
going
call
on.
it a poker. They have different. There's different tones. If you go on the website for Oakland Fire and look up or Oakland Sirens, there's different tones that are supposed to tell you different things. To be honest with you, no one's ever gonna remember that.
Right.
All I say is, if I hear that going off and it's not the first Wednesday at noon on the month, I'll be like, well, that's weird. I tell you, a really sad. Well, I would call it a sad story. They send them off in dispatch. They do it through radio signals. They'll send them out. there was a new dispatcher that Oakland hired many years ago, and she hit the wrong button at 3 o'clock in the morning. He set some of the sirens off.
Oh my
I felt really
goodness.
bad for her. She decided dispatching wasn't her. Have you ever seen the I Want to Get Away commercial? I think that was what Want to Get Away? So, all right, I gotta go back to the
Thanks,
board
Nick.
meeting. See you guys.
So a few questions, so something that came up was, if and when we do implement radios,
Yes.
what channel do we use? And we decided on
The zip code.
zip code, so it's 1 through 84 is a channel selection. We picked 19, so 94619. So go to 19, that's gonna be fun, Parkridge.
So, just remember, 19 is the last 2 digits of the zip code. So it's a nice algorithm for that. Just put your hand over the first 3 digits, and that's the.
And if you really forget, just write it on like a Sharpie or like a little tag on your radio.
Yep.
What class of radio is that? GMRS.
So we have a whole.
It is GMRS?
So we have a whole like radio pamphlet thingy.
It's up there.
It's up there. Well, it's also on the website. We can email it out as well. Yep. We'll try to put more and more things on the website. So when you guys are like, hey, where's information? Go to the website. Mark's put a ton of time into it. It will keep evolving. We're gonna keep doing more. We'll continue to organize as we add more resources, but that's a great way to just help yourself, right? Next question is Firewise. Stephanie, can you talk about Firewise for a moment? Sorry,
Come in. Bring her in.
I'm sorry.
I gotta get her voice on the.
I know it's out of her son. I know.
The microphone's for her, right?
Yeah.
So, there is a Firewise designation program. No.
So people can hear you on the call.
There's no- Hello. There is a Firewise designation program that could potentially help us as a neighborhood keep our insurance more intact.
Oh, yeah.
I've started that program. I'm going to be revisiting it this winter. I would love for some volunteers to assist with that. I know Laura, I know Susan, anyone else who's reached out to me, Mary, love it. We will try and get that going. There are other neighborhoods who have successfully done that here in the hills. We will work on that. So that could be a benefit to help all of you as neighbors keep your fire insurance.
Yeah, what is Firewise? What does it entail?
Home preparation, as far as, clearing, a lot of the clearing,
So it's documentation, the things that
Yes.
Nick talked about.
Yes.
It's to go around and say, yes, all of you have the tiny vents, all of you have 10 feet around your house cleared, all of you have this, and they go through and they check it all off. And at that point, we're considering a fire safe neighborhood.
And we've done a little bit of this, I don't know, a couple of years ago, if you remember, we received a grant. Where we had some juniper cleared near Gloria's home. I think Nick also encouraged you, if you do have juniper, that would be one of the steps to please clear to help our neighborhood. I know it's on some of the corners. That could serve as a deterrent from someone feeling safe to exit our neighborhood. So I just encourage you, if it's not on your land and maybe at another neighbor's, if you could encourage them to clear juniper, because it's a safety hazard for us all.
Just something about Firewise program and that I'll put out there is my understanding, and tell me whether I'm right or not. It's structured in such a way that it's a progressive investment, so it doesn't demand that everybody do everything all at once for us to become a Firewise neighborhood. It's a few houses can do it, and you invest so much money either in sweat equity or in cash equity each year, and as you keep kind of as a neighborhood investing that money year after year after year, the neighborhood becomes safer and safer and safer and more resilient, so it builds on itself.
Yes, and I believe, you know how we go through our annual inspections every year, like that counts. And so we may be asking you guys for copies of your receipts or for you to document on forms saying, I
cleared my house, I put 3 hours into it, there's a minimum, based on the number of houses or participants in the zone that we create, we need X number of hours or dollars to qualify for the program. So don't be surprised if when we really get this going, if we're asking you, so please contribute what you have done to prepare your house for that annual vegetation inspection each June or so, May, June that we do that. That'll help our entire neighborhood.
So Nick's gonna leave his daughter at the Twin East.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
big
gonna let her sit there a little longer. I totally forgot. So, not to do a political plug, there is a ballot measure. You guys know that most people here are familiar with the wildfire. The WPAD Wild Prevention Assessment District. For those that are, nope, there she goes, the new, our new neighbor. Anyways, anyway, that's up on the ballot. You know, you guys do what you want to do vote as you desire. But it was I used to sit on the board, and when it went up for re-election, it lost by 61 votes. So
but we want that. It's yes.
we want that.
And what's the designation of the ballot?
It's M.
M.
That's the other one, but yeah, M. So anyway, it is a good thing, and it helps with a lot of fuel mitigation stuff. The one thing I did forget to talk about was Genesis Protect. Like, if the minimum that everyone leaves here today is having that app. Does everyone have a cell phone? Okay, if you don't have a cell phone, let me know. I'll get you a cell phone. Genesis Protect. Two things you need to have. So there's something called Genesis Protect. Go to the search engine, look it up, download it on your phone. You put your address in. It knows where you live. So whether you're here or whether you're somewhere else, at our zone, 174, 154, 173. It'll alert you. 171. So many things going off on my phone, don't know there's a fire. But put your address in there. That is a great system. Also, acalert.org is the actual alerting system for this county. So that should also be on your phone. They are both integrated. So
And
then so they're integrated. So if they activate a zone on Genesis Protect, it's supposed to send out notifications also through AC Alert because we geofence those in there. So anyway, you should have AC Alert. You should have Genesis Protect. They give you the information. There's an app called Watch Duty.
Oh, yes.
Watch Duty got started after the North Bay fires by a gentleman who started all by himself, lives up in the Napa area, and was like, I don't know where to go to get information. This is ridiculous. Like, I'm going to social medias, I'm looking on TV, I'm going to CAL FIRE. He started a nonprofit called Watch Duty, and now it has 7 full-time employees. Add that to your phone. Keller Fire, that's actually my first alert I got. It wasn't a government alert, it wasn't coming from my dispatch center. I actually popped up on Watch Duty and alerted me there. You can also set Watch Duty, it's free to monitor up to 4 counties. We really only care about 1 county unless you have loved ones somewhere else. And it will, you can turn on your notifications. Basically through technology and through people, it is monitoring dispatches. So as soon as someone's getting dispatched to a fire, they start monitoring it. And they have actually 200 volunteers across the Western United States that actually start listening to the dispatching and seeing if it's actually a real fire. And then they will start sending out the information. The nice thing about it is it's just the facts and nothing but the facts. It's not this subjective. It's never seen anything like this. It's been, conflagration. They will just give you the facts. There's a fire. It's this size. This is what the radio reports are saying. There's 6 aircraft on the way. And stuff like that. It's an amazing tool. I just went through a presentation on it, and it's all, like I said, if you want to donate to them to keep them going, it's great. But that is the best place I have found. If you smell smoke or you want to know information, go to the Watch Duty app, and it just has a scrolling thing. It also puts in the Genesis Protect evacuation information too.
Oh, okay.
So you can also get the Genesis Protect information through watch duty. And then the one last thing I wanted to say about, back to the red flag thing I forgot to say is, remember, it's an event. The National Weather Service is saying it because the modeling is saying it. The one thing I always do, if I'm sitting here going, wow, you know, red flag? Like, seriously? Oh, they screwed up. Best job in the world, meteorologist. You can totally get screwed up and you still have a job. Like, I think it's the best job in the world. You know, what I always do is I go Google Mount Diablo winds. Because the way the red flag works is the winds will be up what we call a loft. And I'll Google Mount Diablo wind speeds, because they went to a weather station up there. They'll be at 45 miles an hour and we'll be at like 5 miles an hour. To me, that tells me there's an event happening, but the way it hasn't worked its way down to, what are we at, 1,200 feet here. So that's always, it just lets me know, like, oh, they didn't totally screw this up. There's actually a wind event. It's just up at 4,000 feet and it hasn't come down. Because you guys know, we'll get the winds up here and then you'll drive down to, you know, Costco and it won't be windy. And then, but sometimes the winds will go all the way down to sea level. So I just wanted to add that as a little trick that I use to just let me know, like,
Never
oh.
move away.
What's that?
Promise me, you never move.
No, never. Never move away. The rest of the car will drive around for at least a few more years. All right, now I'm really gonna get my kid. Thank you guys. Hey, thank you for our host.
All right, a few more questions and then I'm sure we'll have an attention span. How does a go bag differ from shelter in place supplies? I'm gonna guess, but go ahead, yeah.
Okay, shelter in place is different because it's gonna be heavier, it's gonna be the big batteries, it's gonna be all the stuff you need if you have to have, breathing apparatuses or something in your house. So shelter in place is it might be a tent if you have to be outside your house, but you're not allowed to leave. And that's nothing we covered, maybe we should, but it doesn't seem to be an issue in our neighborhood because
We see stock of you,
Right.
you need an army for a week.
it's water barrels, right? We have, okay, tell you what we have. We have two, we used to have 7-gallon, army style water containers. We now have them in 2.5 gallons because I can't carry those anymore. You can get them on, on the web. They're expensive, but they keep water safe for a long time. You can have the big barrels of dehydrated food. We have some of those. That kind of thing is your stay at home when you have no energy, no phone service, no water. You want to have, but you can't leave. So it's camping on your property.
For a long period of time.
Our plan to get non-drivers evacuated, they kind of know when return, and know when it's safe to return home, and where do we go into evacuate? So it's sort of a multiple question. We were kind of talking about. We sort of hit on some of these things.
For the non-drivers part, this is where we talk about the neighborhood registry, and this is where we talk about getting to know your neighbors. And making essentially, if you can imagine a little star emitting from your house to line of sight to your neighbors, if you can get to know these people and be aware of who has possible issues, who is going to need to be evacuated, who doesn't drive, maybe has some mobility or sight problems, and so on. And so the easiest model to follow is go out to your front porch, look around, see who you see in terms of houses, and make it your personal mission to go meet these people and say, hey, we're in this together, and try and make some kind of alliance for each other's safety.
Where do we go when told to evacuate? I think kind of Nick sort of mentioned that. Can't really point it out too much. Just away from that. You'll be outside. So, and look, a great question someone asked the other day. They're like, we don't know where to go, what hotels are available. We're not going to compile a list of every hotel in the area. Those are going to change. We're not going to compile pricing. Just go away from where the danger is. That's kind of what you need to do. And sometimes just move, right? So we have to kind of think on our feet to some degree.
But there's a big hint, start looking far away. So if there's something here, you're calling San Jose and seeing what's available.
Shelter in place locations for our neighborhoods. The question was entirely clear what was said to me, but maybe just talk about that, or.
We don't really have.
Stay at home.
Yeah.
Go to the garage.
Bottom line, when we talk about. You don't wanna leave your house until you have to. As soon as you leave your house, things start getting bad fast. Whatever you've left with is not enough. Whatever you're depending on is prone to failure and puts you at risk. So you want to stay home as long as you can. Because once you're in your car, you have what's in the car and you hope the car stays working. And so you want to stay home as long as you possibly can and still feel safe. That said, that's intention with the whole idea of get out early and often when you think that there's an evacuation. And so you have to figure out where that line is. I advise you to set objective criteria. This is something we talk about in psychology a lot, and that is that we are great at letting things slip through the gray zone. And so, well, it's an evacuation, but it's not that close. Of a fire, the smoke is not that bad. We're probably going to get to this, and we will talk ourselves right up to the brink of something. Instead, it's important that you set objective criteria for when you're going to do something. When you hit that point, that's when you say, sorry, I'm a dull person. I have set my criteria. I have to go. And you hold by your agreement with yourself that this objective criteria is when you take action.
I would just add practice. Practice is going to help enormously, more than you think. And just 5 minutes of practice.
Yeah, absolutely. To switch that mindset, getting into the mindset. Once you're in the mindset, you're gonna do fine. It's the what Susan's talking about, the practice, the 5 minutes of practice to switch mindsets is key.
We are at 12, so I'm gonna just finish with just a few things. You guys may not know this, but we have actually a few leaders from other neighborhoods in this group today, because this neighborhood, although we are very small and contained, what the other neighborhoods do matters to us as well. So thank you, Tonya, and from Hillcrest over at Skyline, and we got Moon and Betty and Cheryl over from Balmora over here. We've been all working together, not only with security, but also emergency preparedness. So thank you for them for coming so we can all coordinate together. And oh, do you want to say something? No? Okay. And then I believe everyone's already part of the Google group here. For everyone in RTP, they said they were, but if you're not.
What?
The Google group.
Yeah, that neighborhood.
Oh man. Anyway, email us PEIA Oakland@gmail.com. We'll add you. If you're not part of the WhatsApp PEIA alert, which most people are, but there are a few people who said they weren't, I've emailed you individually to sign up. If you didn't get the email, let me know. Once you signed up, that is kind of our sort of local alert system. That's not to say you shouldn't do the other ones as well, but having multiple layers helps. And the last thing is we have a bunch of donuts in the back. And if you stick me with them and I eat them all, I'm going to have super diabetes. So please take one. And anything else before we end?
Just wanted to know what are our next steps? I mean, obviously everybody here is concerned.
So that's a great question. Next steps. Again, we need help. So if you're willing to do anything, please let us know. Part of my planning for the next year is actually doing some fundraising. So everything we do here is all volunteer. We need a little bit of capital that gives us programs. That gives us ability to buy things. Maybe we buy bolt cutters and supplies. So if you can't donate time, money is always great, but time is so much more important. We just need manpower, and part of my job next year is really creating like job descriptions of like here are the things we need help with, and to be able to sign up for those things. As of right now, I haven't got to that yet. So if you're just say, hey, I'm willing to help on anything, please let us know. We'll compile a list. We're going to try to do these once every 3 months.
Right.
We're going to make this into a series.
A great next step, though, is that trip to your porch, where you stand there and you look around and you make a resolution to yourself. You're going to meet all of your neighbors, and that is a great next step.
Yes. So we're going to do these. Yes, absolutely that. We're going to do these
once every 4 months-ish or so. It's gonna be a little bit of a different topic every time, so maybe next time's earthquake. We'll talk about radios. I know this kind of is a little nerdy. It just is critical. I will admit, I bought the radios, haven't really done much with them. And so we're gonna have a radio workshop. We'll get you all set up, signed up. It's really easy. It's not intimidating. We have Mr. Radio right here who will help us figure it out. And so it's great. So come to those and just pay attention. That seems like a fair, okay. We don't make it overwhelming, but the reality is that, like Nick was saying, we are always gonna be at risk here. And so that's something we have to accept and do some work around it. Last question.
Hi, I know y'all probably have covered a lot in here, but is it possible to do like a summary of the meeting today, to send out to everyone?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is, we've got this recorded. We're gonna email out a link where you can rewatch it all over again. You can watch it as many times as you want.
Can we do that?
Ooh, that would have been kind of cool. Well, maybe we'll do that next time.
This is volunteer.
We have resources on the website. That's about what we've got, just from a manpower standpoint. We can only kind of translate so much.
And where is that?
The video, we will email it out to everyone, and then we'll also put a link on our website. So you can always just go there. We'll just upload it, or go there anytime you want. So.
And the handouts will also.
They should all be there.
Most of the handouts
Yes, okay.
are on the website. If not, we would get them up there. Give us some time.
Yeah.
And we'll email stuff out too. So.
Yeah, but the website's great, because.
The website's great.
I'm using that website.
Any other questions? I know everyone's at the end of their attention span, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're not going to have